the magic of I feel like I haven't read like sort of this. How did I not figure that part out too? Man, I am out of it. I would say it's not really recommendations. It's also what I find interesting about thrifting. Here goes my brain all over the place. That was a loud clap. Here you go. Hi everybody, it's Audrey and welcome back to Chapter and Converse. Today we are going to do what I would say is probably the biggest book haul I've done on this channel. And I'm not even going to pretend this isn't an obnoxious amount of books. Like, I'm gonna call myself out on this thing. This is insane. But here comes my rationalization. This is all thrifted books that I got from either Thrift Books or Better World Books, or from a free book exchange that I have in my community. So I donated a bunch of books and I got a bunch of books from that in exchange. The whole idea was when I did that unhaul, I was gonna get rid of a bunch of books and not do a one-for-one kind of a thing, but I hit some massive pay dirt, which you guys will see in a minute. And we're just gonna dive into this and just own the fact that this is obnoxious. So these are books that I have accumulated over probably like the past 2 months. So I did a thrifted book haul a little while ago where I discovered the magic of online thrift shopping for books, because I don't have thrift stores in my area that I can go to. And because of the panorama, my library has been super limited, and they started to reopen their book room, but it was like 2 hours a week during the middle of the day, so that didn't work for me. So I just saw, I mean, not that it needed to work for me, but you know what I mean. But I just saw that they're doing, I wanna say like first Saturday of the month they're open for a couple hours, but I am always happy to visit free libraries, you know, do thrifted hauls, be able to do it that way, or be able to buy thrifted books, do thrifted hauls, be able to buy thrifted books rather than buying full price books. So anyway, this is me talking a whole lot about a lot, but these books have come into my life over the course of a little bit of time. So these aren't in any particular order. I'm just gonna talk about the books that I am staring at here, and I'm gonna just tell you a little bit about each one and why I picked it up. So I am gonna start with a book that I've talked about on here a couple times already, because I didn't haul it when I got it, but I've talked about it multiple times. So this is The Darkness by Ragnar Jonasson, and I loved this book. I absolutely fell in love with this book. It is the first in a series, and this is about a detective named Hulda. This takes place in Iceland. She is getting managed out and pushed into early retirement, and she has 2 weeks left on the job, and she embarks on a cold case in Iceland. And I 1000% loved this book, and partway through it, I hopped back online and I was like, I need the other 2 books in this series because I need to read this entire thing immediately. So I'm very happy to say they came separately. We all know that shipping is kind of insane right now with the holiday season and everything, but the second book in the series showed up yesterday. I'm looking for the third book. That third book showed up like earlier in the week. I went a little bonkers with Black Friday, Cyber Monday sales that Better World and Thrift Books had. So book number 2 in the series is called The Island, and the book number 3 in the series is The Mist. So The Mist is a library book. As you can tell, it has the plastic cover on it. I was just chatting it up with my friends to find out how I can get this off without destroying the cover underneath, because some of these, they're like taped to the cover, so I don't want to ruin it. But I also don't need the plastic. I don't love the vellum cover. But I have to say, I basically try and search for books that are either like new or very good condition. I did learn the hard way that books that are in good condition, not so good. I also learned that the description very good can be subjective, so it's not necessarily what I would consider very good. So it is a little bit of a risk shopping online this way and not being able to physically go in and touch the books, but happy to say both of these are in excellent condition and I am so excited. So book number 2, book number 3. I was desperately trying to, this is the UK cover, get matching covers, but I couldn't, and it just, you know, becomes a little bit insane. So this is, I want to say this is the Dark Iceland series. I don't know if that's the series this one is. Jeez, he has a couple series, but this is the first batch of books that I picked up. So another thing that I love about thrifted books is that you can find maybe the hardcover that's not readily available anymore, or in the case of like the Ragnar book, you can find the UK cover. So you can maybe get access to something that you couldn't physically get now if you wanted to, or you might pay a pretty penny for. So the next book I picked up was actually a recommendation from you guys. And again, this is gonna be a library book, so I'm sorry it's gonna shine really weird. This is The Doll Maker by Richard Montanari. I had not heard about this book, but in one of my, I talked about dark and messed up stuff. Somebody was like, have you heard of this book? And I was like, I have now, thank you very much. And when I was doing some perusing, I looked and I found it. So this is a detective series, or I don't even know if it's a series, but these are detectives in Philadelphia. So in this one, it's a quiet Philadelphia suburb. Did I even say this is called The Doll Maker? This one looks super messed up, you guys. And it's a woman is cycling past a train depot with her young daughter, and there's a murdered girl posed on a newly painted bench. Beside the body is a formal invitation to a tea dance in a week's time. 7 days later, 2 more young victims are discovered in an abandoned house, posed on painted swings. At the scene is an identical invitation, and this time there's something extra waiting for the detectives, a delicate porcelain doll. It's a message, it's a threat, and they have 7 days to find out the link between the murders before another innocent child is snatched from the streets. Ugh. So the cover in and of itself looks really creepy. I'm sorry, I know it's like being weird. I have never heard of this before. This author has written a bunch of books, and I'm gonna dive into it. This is chunky, but I'm super intrigued. So let me know if any of you guys have heard of this. I never even heard about this one before. So very fun. So another thing that I love and I find fascinating with the thrifted books, especially the library books, is you find that they come from all over the place. So this one is from Tigard, Oregon, Tigard, T-I-G-A-R-D. So it's really interesting to see where the books come from, which is just sort of like an interesting, fun aside, I think. So this Ragnar book came from Prospect Heights, Illinois. So it's just sort of fun to see where they all come from. And then another library book I picked up, and this one came from Syracuse, New York. And this is The Legacy by Ursa Surgardottir. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. So I have gone deep down, you're gonna start to see a theme here, on sort of this Nordic noir, Scandinavian noir, mystery thriller. A lot of this is influenced by Abby from Crime by the Book, because I started to get some great recommendations from her and started to look into some of her older recommendations on her blog that she has. So this book is actually the first in a series. Sorry, it's reflecting because this is another library book. And it is about the psychologist Freya and police officer Holder. So this says the only person who might have the answers to a baffling murder case is the victim's 7-year-old daughter, found hiding in the room where her mother died, and the child isn't talking. So we've got people trying to investigate a murder, and it says the killer's leaving strange clues, warnings in text messages, and numbers scribbled on bits of paper. He or she is telling a dark and secret story, but can Freya and Holder crack the code? And if they do, will they be next? So I have heard just great things about Ursa, I'm gonna call her, as an author. And I have her book, I Remember You, and I haven't read it yet. So it is on my list, it's on my list to read, but I'm super curious about this. It was one of the best crime novels of the year by the Icelandic Crime Authors Association. So I'm excited to dive deeper into her books. Sorry, it's reflecting weird. Okay, let me show you a book that does not have a reflective cover for a small break from that. And this is called Open Your Eyes by Paula Daly. So this is psychological thriller, domestic suspense. And I've had this on my list for a while now also, and I finally just pulled the trigger on it. So this one has like somebody's little inscription in the top. So this was not a library book, this was somebody's book. And this is about a woman named Jane and her husband Leon. So Leon is a best-selling crime author. Jane is a creative writing teacher and an aspiring novelist, but she just keeps getting rejected over and over again. And it says, Leon urges Jane to put her hobby to rest. I already don't like him as a husband. So apparently Jane has this perfect life, and she's, like I said, she's married to Leon, they've got kids. But then Leon is brutally attacked in their driveway while their children wait quietly in the car. And suddenly their perfect life becomes the stuff of nightmares. So who would do this? Who would have the audacity to do this in the broad daylight? So now Leon is in a coma and Jane needs to figure out what exactly happened, why something like this happened to her husband. And it says, although she might not like what she sees, if she's committed to discovering who hurt her husband and why, Jane must take matters into her own hands. So the illusions of a perfect marriage, an unsettling whodunit, and I am totally curious about it. So again, like I said, I've had this on my Amazon wish list for a little while, and I'm excited to actually have it. So this is from 2018, and I will let you guys know. But I feel like I haven't read like a straight up domestic suspense in a while, so I'm gonna give this one a go. So a book that I mentioned in my winter reads, books that I want to read this winter, winter feely-ish kind of books, is The Shining by Stephen King. And when I filmed that video, I didn't have this yet, so it showed up. This is also a library book. Soup's annoying, I know. And where's this one from? This is from the Baltimore County Public Library. So this hardcover book, I saw this in Barnes & Noble and I was like, ooh, cool. And then I picked it up and I was like, ooh, $40. No. But I've been curious about reading The Shining because like I talked about in that winter reads one, I was like, now that I've read one Stephen King book and I'm like all into him, but I feel like I need to work my way up to The Shining. But this has got some snowy Colorado vibes in it, the Overlook Hotel. I know elements of this story, but haven't been wholly spoiled for it. I've seen all the cliche moments from the Jack Nicholson, Shelley Duvall movie, and I'm just super curious to read it. I'm getting more and more interested in diving into Stephen King. I've been so afraid, like literally scared to read his books. And now that I sort of broke through with Pet Sematary, which is over here, I don't know if you guys can totally see it, I'm gonna give it a go. So I picked up The Shining. So I wound up paying $15 for this. This is the most expensive book that I bought. So my plan is to read Misery first before I dive into this one. And like I said, I'm curious to see what it's all about. So this is Jack, and he is the new caretaker for the Overlook Hotel, his wife Wendy, and then their 5-year-old son Danny. I know there's also a sequel to this that has come out recently. I don't know anything about that one either. I know some of the creepy parts of it, and I kind of feel like I just want to know what it's all about. Like I'm starting to get some FOMO. So I picked up The Shining, which is shining on camera. That's annoying. Okay, next up is a book called Killer Deal by Sophie Sarenbrant. So I don't even know how, I feel like when I was searching on thrift books, because of course, as soon as you start shopping there, you start getting emails that were like, oh, you like this author, you're gonna like that. They start making recommendations to you. They know how to get you. They're smart, they're smart. So this is a brutal murder in a posh Stockholm suburb. So this is the morning after an open house in an idyllic neighborhood. A 6-year-old girl finds her father dead in the villa for sale. No signs of a break-in, and the murder weapon is one of the family's own kitchen knives. So when Detective Emma Skold takes up the case, she suspects the victim's wife. But when another murder occurs tied to a different open house, Emma's theory is turned on its head. So, riveting thriller. I love me some real estate. I used to work in commercial real estate, not that that has anything to do with this, but I'm curious about it. And I've never heard anybody talk about this book. I haven't heard about this from anywhere. So I'm really interested in it. So this was translated into English. This book is from 2015. So I don't know. Let me know if anyone has heard about this one. I might actually even pick this one up on the sooner side of things because it just sounds really interesting. So yes, Killer Deal. So another author that I'm curious to get into her series, and I'm actually waiting for the first book in the series to show up. So spoiler alert, there's a couple more books that are still coming. All of my stuff has been stuck in York, Pennsylvania. I don't know if anyone else has been dealing with this, but one of the things when you buy thrift books, they come from different places in the country, so it's not like when you're necessarily buying from an online retailer and they're all going to show up together. But a lot of my stuff seems to route through Pennsylvania, and it sounds like a lot of stuff is getting stuck there. So I've purchased like a ton of Christmas gifts for people. I shouldn't say a ton. Like Christmas gifts I purchased for people. Everything is getting log jammed there, and like one package will shoot out at a time. So anyway, spoiler alert, there's another book coming, The Ice Princess. So this is The Preacher, which is book number 2 in the series. So I don't even want to read much about it, but it's about sadistic murders spanning 2 generations remain unsolved. So, okay, that's all I want to know. I don't want to risk reading anything that's going to tell me anything about book number 1, but I have heard really great things about her as a writer as well. And then I have The Golden Cage, which is a book that came out maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I know the sequel to that book came out this year, so maybe The Golden Cage came out last year, and I picked that up on like a deep discount. I'm just looking at my book cart and I don't see it, but I know it's somewhere on there. But I haven't read that one yet, but I've heard such great things about her as a writer. So I have really, ever since I did Series September, have been in such a series mood, and I'm excited to get into more of them, and especially series that I don't know anything about and haven't heard of before. So that's why I picked up The Preacher. So book number 1 is coming. You'll see that in another video. So the next book is one that Abby recommended, and I feel like it's a sort of like an under the radar recommendation that she made, or a book that a lot of people aren't talking about. And this is called I'm Traveling Alone by Samuel Bjork. So I had not heard of this one. Again, I'm sorry you guys with the lighting. I have not heard of this one at all. And this book is in the Norwegian countryside. So this is in Oslo. And this book came out, let me see. This is another library book, obviously. This one came from New Jersey. This one came out in 2013, and then the translation was 2015. So it says, a girl is found in the Norwegian countryside, hanging lifeless from a tree and dressed in strange doll's clothes. Around her neck is a sign that says, quote, I'm traveling alone. So this is deep dive police investigation. So we have a veteran police investigator and a brilliant but haunted investigator, and they come together to try and solve this mystery. And it says the crime scene photos on the girl's fingernail is engraved the number 1. So Mia, who is our brilliant haunted investigator, knows this is only the beginning. But then Munch, who is our veteran police investigator, his own 6-year-old granddaughter goes missing, and Mia realizes that the killer's sinister game is personal. I'm Traveling Alone races to an explosive and shocking conclusion. No spoilers, right? So I'm really, again, I'm curious and I'm interested. I feel like as much as I've been loving reading new books and reading auto-buy authors and all this stuff that I know I'm going to love, I'm really craving finding something new. So not that I feel like I'm in a reading rut, although I had like a horrible slump early in November, which you guys know, but I have had such fantastic luck with debut authors this year. And even though these are not debuts, new to me, I've had some success with this year as well. And I'm really craving something new and something different and something I haven't read yet. And I don't know what book I read. It might've been Joanna Schaffenhausen's series, the Ellery Hathaway series, about the police and investigation of the FBI that sort of like rejiggered my police investigation itch. So I'm excited for this one. So it sounds so messed up. I thought I read about dark and messed up things. I feel like these books are really like, I feel like I don't know if this is going to help me earn darker and more messed up stripes, but I feel like I am not as dark and messed up as I thought that I was necessarily. And these books might earn me that better award, so we'll see. But I'm excited about that one. And then because I can't not buy more, I picked up another Ragnar Jonasson series. I was looking for great winter books. I will also say Hey Atlas Creative has heavily influenced a lot of my purchases because they have talked about his books, and they went to Icelandic Noir, that crime fest that just happened. Abby went there too, so they both were posting all of this stuff. They're posting all these authors. A lot of these authors were there, and I just feel like I'm like so heavily influenced by it. I am a marketer's dream. You guys probably figured that out by now. So anyway, this series, this is, I don't even know which one comes first. Okay, so just looking at the inside cover of the list of books, this series starts with Snowblind. Then there's a book called Nightblind, which I don't have. How did I miss that? And then we have Blackout, it sounds like. So clearly I'm missing a book in the series. So this one says, a modern take on an Agatha Christie style mystery. So we have a quiet fishing town in northern Iceland where no one locks their doors. It's accessible only via a small mountain tunnel. Ari Thor is a rookie policeman on his first posting, far from his girlfriend in Reykjavik. He has a past that he's unable to leave behind. And then the what is, a young woman is found lying half naked in the snow, bleeding and unconscious, and a highly esteemed elderly writer falls to his death. Ari is dragged straight into the heart of a community where he can trust no one, and secrets and lies are a way of life. So past and present, claustrophobic tension, a little police investigation, super atmospheric is my gauge, or my guess, blinded by snow and with a killer on the loose. So here we go. This is actually his first book. It says Snowblind is a startling debut. How did I not figure that part out too? Man, I am out of it. Okay, so this one came out in 2010. I need to do my homework, friends. I really need to do my homework. So this is the third in the series. I'm not even gonna open the flap of this to find out what it's about, and clearly I need to find book number 2. So here we go, another series. And then this is also great for the winter. So more things. Let me just tag on some PSs for my wintry reads one. Maybe I need to do a part 2 of that before like the winter's even started. And then the last book that I thrifted is Carola Lubering's Tell Me Lies. And this is her first book. So she wrote Too Good to Be True, which came out this year, which I haven't read yet. But I've heard great things about this. And I need to do a podcast video for you guys for podcasts that I'm listening to, because I started listening to a whole bunch of them. And somebody was talking about how great this book was. And that she has a new book coming out next year as well. So I need to hop on that for you guys. But in the meantime, this is her first book. Taylor Jenkins Reid plugged it on the back, which already sells it for me. But this one says, everyone remembers the one. No, not that one, the other one. The wrong one. The one you couldn't let go of. The one you'll never forget. So this is about a woman named Lucy, and she is in college, and she meets the guy, Stephen DeMarco. Charming, attractive, complicated, devastating. So they get involved. Stephen has some dark secrets from his past. And it says, Lucy knows there's something about Stephen that can't be trusted. Stephen knows Lucy can't tear herself away. And their addicting entanglement will have consequences they never could have imagined. So it follows them through college and post-college. Psychological suspense is my guess on this one. So I'm just really interested in it. And again, I need to just not listen to podcasts or read anything anywhere, because my list is so insanely long. So Taylor's blurb on the back is that this is a dark and daring. I found myself immediately drawn into the desperation and misguided obsession of young love. So just like I was saying how I haven't really read like domestic suspense lately, I feel like I haven't read romantic relationship psychological suspense in a while. And yeah, I will find out what podcast it is and I will link it down below so you guys know in case you're interested. But they were talking about this book and my interest was totally piqued, and I just needed to know what it was all about. And I remember having this like as a curiosity because Too Good to Be True, I have the ebook of that. I remember thinking, oh, I should go into her backlist, and then I was like, no, read the current one first. Oh well. Okay, so this is sort of like part 2. So I have a free library swap situation at my disposal, and I rarely ever find anything there because I find either it's just books I'm not interested in, books I've already read, or books that maybe aren't in the best condition. So unfortunately, like even with some of the free little libraries around me, I just don't find that a lot of what people put in there are books that should be donated. So we've talked about this more often than not. I am someone who writes in her books, who marks up her books. If it's a book I love, I will go to town on it. I would never attempt to donate that book to somebody else. If a friend of mine wanted it for some reason, I would absolutely give it to them if it was something I wanted to get rid of. Though in all fairness, most of the books that I've marked up to the high heavens, of course I'm not gonna have one at my disposal, is not a book I'm gonna wanna get rid of. But I don't think you should be donating books that are just not in some form of decent condition. So anyway, I don't usually do well, but one evening when I was making a donation of my own, I happened to have probably the best timing in the world because someone clearly was either moving or doing a massive unhaul and unloaded a ton of books in pristine condition, hardcovers. They are legal thrillers, police procedurals, some classics. I did not take everything on the shelf, although there was a moment where I was just like, maybe, and then I was like, no, have an ounce of self-control. So this was a two-parter situation. So I'm gonna go through, I've got 3 individual books and then I've got something insane. So here we go. First book, Michael Connelly's The Lincoln Lawyer. I have seen this movie because Matthew McConaughey, hey, Marissa Tomei, Ryan Phillippe, yes please, such a great movie. I have never actually read a Michael Connelly book. I have listened to countless interviews. I am familiar with, though I haven't watched the Bosch series. I have listened to advice from him, instructional videos, like all the things. I've never actually read one of his books, which I'm slightly, not embarrassed, but I feel like I'm missing out. And I just grabbed The Lincoln Lawyer. So this is Mickey Haller is the Lincoln Lawyer. He does all of his business from the backseat of his Lincoln Town Car, hence the name. He's a criminal defense attorney in LA. He's got a complicated history. He's got a lot of baggage. He's got a lot of stuff. Although I will say, I don't know how true the movie was to the book. So I'm basing some of my assumptions on what I saw in the movie. But in this one, a Beverly Hills playboy is arrested for attacking a woman he picked up in a bar, and he chooses Mickey to defend him. So it's one of Mickey's first high-paying clients. He's super happy to have it. He's a defense attorney's dream. And then it says, as the evidence stacks up, Mickey comes to believe this may be the easiest case of his career. Mickey, seems too good to be true. So then stuff goes down. I don't want to read it because I don't know how much of a spoiler this is. So it just says, Mickey is brought face to face with evil as pure as a flame. So he basically is, you know, trying not to die, trying to figure out what happened. He's getting all caught in some messed up situations. This is Michael Connelly's first legal thriller that he wrote. I know this wound up being a series as well, so I'm curious to read it. And again, I feel like I'm doing myself a disservice by not diving into any Michael Connelly. This is from 2005, so the movie was terrific. I have high hopes for this, and it's in absolutely perfect condition. The next book I grabbed is actually one that I read when I was far younger, and there's a handful of books that I think I just read at the wrong time and just like didn't get them, or they didn't work for me, or I wasn't paying enough attention. I don't even remember this book. And I saw it and I was like, you know, I really want to read that again. And it's in perfect condition as well. All these are in perfect condition. So I picked it up off the shelf. And this is Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil by John Berendt. And I know this was a movie as well. I never actually saw this movie. And I want to say it's like John Cusack, Kevin Spacey, I want to say is in this. This is in Savannah. This is actually nonfiction, which I did not realize at all. So this is Shots Rang Out in Savannah's grandest mansion in the misty early morning hours of May 2nd, 1981. Was it murder or self-defense? So this is kind of like an In Cold Blood is how it's being comped and talked about. And we've got just sort of what happened that night. So it says he skillfully interweaves hugely entertaining first-person account of life in this isolated remnant of the Old South, with the unpredictable twists and turns of a landmark murder case. So it reads like fiction, but it's nonfiction. And I also, there's a part of me that just has a literal curiosity about that and how this book is written. I don't even know anything about this case. And I remember nothing about reading this book, to the point that I don't even know if I realized I was reading nonfiction at the time. Like, that's how not my business reading it. So I am curious about this. Let me know if any of you guys have read it. I don't remember it. Saved the life of me. Or Save My Life. I don't remember To Save My Life. To Save the Life of Me. Oh my goodness. I don't remember it at all. So I snagged it. And then the next one is a classic that I have never read, but have had every intention to read, but have never picked it up. And it's Death Comes to Pemberley by P.D. James. I've never read a P.D. James book either. I feel like when I say these things, it should not be surprising to people because there's so much I haven't read. But this is the characters from Pride and Prejudice and A Tale of Murder and Emotional Mayhem. So this is 1803, and we have Elizabeth and Darcy embarked on their life together at Pemberley, Darcy's magnificent estate. So one of Elizabeth's sisters winds up kind of pulling up on the estate one night, and she was married to this very dubious man named Wickham, and they have been banned from Pemberley. So her sister stumbles out of the carriage, hysterical, shrieking that Wickham has been murdered. With shocking suddenness, Pemberley is plunged into a frightening mystery. So apparently P.D. James was a huge Austen fan, and it says she masterfully recreates the world of Pride and Prejudice, electrifying it with the excitement and suspense of a brilliantly crafted crime story, as only she can write it. So if you're ever gonna start with P.D. James, I feel like this is a great place to start, and I'm excited about it. And I know a lot of people don't love this, but it has deckled edges, which I do love so much. So I'm excited for this. I feel like again, I'm doing myself a disservice by not reading her books. Okay, so the grand finale of this insane haul of books is somebody out there decided they were over their John Grishams, and I feel like the universe was like, hey girl, they're here for you. Because if you guys have been watching, then you know I picked up a hardcover of A Time to Kill because I had the original mass market paperback of that, and I 1000% want to reread that book, and it's my favorite Grisham book. And then in my first thrift books haul, I picked up the hardcover of The Firm, which was in mint condition. And you guys, this is insanity, but these are all Grisham books in hardcover, like first editions, mint or near mint condition. A couple of the covers are slightly dinged. So like this Pelican Brief, slightly dinged. I had the mass market paperback of this, and I unhauled it at one point. I loved this book too. I loved this movie. So I picked up Pelican Brief. Runaway Jury. I read this a long time ago. I don't remember anything about it. I have been having this urge to reread his books, so I got that one. These are a lot of his older ones. I picked up The Associate. I picked up The Last Juror. I picked up The Partner, which I haven't read. I did read The Street Lawyer. I don't really remember it because I read it when it came out, and I used to have a hardcover of it, and I unloaded it, unhauled it at some point. This is, survey says, 1998, and then I picked up The Testament. So these are not all in order, or are they? 1999. I'm actually gonna have to go through and see if I did actually pick these up in order. So there were more of his books. I would say everything. His newest, The Judges List, wasn't there. And I'm trying to think what came out before that. But I stuck with his older ones because this is really where my interest lies. I did not pick up The Chamber because I've read that and I didn't care to revisit that one. And I'm trying to think, I didn't take them all. I'm not like that garbagey of a human. And I left plenty of other Michael Connelly's behind and other books. This is like a huge book swap situation, so I feel like I need to defend myself. But I'm so excited. Like, I can't even believe it. And hardcovers, and like I said, first editions. This one is in what I would quote unquote call the worst shape. And it's just, you know, it's older and it's yellowed a little bit. Sorry, I probably just blocked myself talking. But the inside is perfectly fine. It's great. The cover has just seen some time. It's seen some days. It's seen some things. This cover's lived a little bit. Can we also talk about how handsome John Grisham is? So I'm so excited for this. I don't know when I'm going to find the time to do this, which I realize is part of the problem. But I went hog wild, and I know it. And we have a situation where we're gonna need to figure out where to put them. And that's a story for a different day. So I thank you guys for watching this today. Let me know if you've picked up anything successfully from your free libraries or book swaps or thrifted online, what kind of success you've had. I know in my last video we talked about how it is kind of a crapshoot, the condition some things are going to come in. I would say I have been pleasantly surprised as a whole for the condition that things are in. You really need to pay attention. I do think sometimes library books can be better because they're taken care of differently, but it is definitely a bit of a crapshoot, and I'm trying to sort of tread lightly and control myself. So that whole Black Friday, Cyber Monday situation is sort of the end of it, although of course now I realize there's a middle book in this that I don't have, so we'll see what happens next. But thank you guys for watching and hanging out and spending time, and I hope everyone's doing really well, and I will see you guys in another video very soon. Bye everybody.